Thank you.
I was not going to talk today because I promised and vowed that I would not talk during the motion on adjournment if there are no ministers in the chambers. Of course, there is minister, but I do not have any issue to raise with him. The only thing I have to tell him is thank you. The rural electrification is in process in my area. Knowledge is like a garden. If it is not properly cultivated, it cannot be harvested. But how can you cultivate knowledge without the required tools? I was not going to say anything about this, but I'm saying because people were jiggling when the honorable member for Basse said it. And the jiggling to me meant it was frivolous. I think it is.
I think some people are finding it difficult, including myself, to hear you, yes.
I'm not going to shout today because I have a bad voice.
Child, maybe you were not putting, the microphone has a problem, so somebody has just brought in another one. And the issue was not with me alone. I saw some other people. So
you have to add that time to my time, please. Okay. It was not out of place when he said Basse needs a library. You know, the irony is some of the things under colonial rule are more forward-looking than what we have today. When I was going to school in Basse in those days, there was a well-stocked library there. And in fact, it was there that I came across Mungo Park's diary. But there is nothing there now. So we are going backward. We know that we cannot do without that. It is with knowledge that we must transform this world as we want it to be, to serve our needs. The only constant thing in nature and society is change. Nothing is always the same in nature. Nothing is always the same in society. And if we want this change to have meaning for our lives, we must have the necessary tools to do it. We cannot move forward without education. And education is what makes our world totally different from that of animals. And that is why we cannot underrate it. If you travel in this country now, you think that before, where every regional center, there was a library. Now there is library nowhere, even here. The one there. I used to be a member of this library. I used to be a frequent visitor to it, but I don't go there now because there are no books. The books for me there are old. And our library here in the National Assembly, you call that a library? Somebody was talking about, rightly so. That's not the library that we need here. We need a library where you will find magazines, journals from parliaments all over the world, magazines which are talking about the world daily. Because we must be kept abreast with what is happening, not only here, but the world over. We must always be on top of things as members of parliament. And that brings me to another reflection. I've decided to talk about things, to share things with you, and not with those who are not here. You see, knowledge is dynamic. Earlier scientists affirmed that atom was indivisible. But today, it is proven that earthwood can be cut into pieces, so that it shows that knowledge is always moving. It is dynamic. In the same vein, when the French philosopher Montesquieu talked about separation of powers, he probably could not have seen everything. And of course, Montesquieu is misinterpreted. Once upon a time in this country, a member of parliament was also a minister. In Britain, which we are happy, ministers there are also elected members of parliament. That's not what Montesquieu said. You cannot be a judge and jury at the same time. You are a member of parliament, and you are supposed to exercise oversight over yourself again. Does that make sense? It does not make sense. My reflection today about this separation of powers has to do with parliament in relation to the executive. The executive is accountable to this parliament. The parliament has power to impeach the president, the ministers, the vice president, all of them. But the irony is, when we make law here, it does not become law until it is assented to there. That is, for me, a cause for, we should reflect about that. What is wrong with that? Parliament makes law, and it cannot become law unless it is assented to by a president. Is that the practice universally? No, it is not. So historically, what is the problem? Here, this was a colony. And the colonial legislature, to be controlled by the monarchy, any law that is passed here has to be examined and vetted by the Queen to make sure that it did not go against their interests. And the same practice continues. This is what we are in. So we are proud, yes, we are exercising oversight. But he also is exercising oversight over you. Because when you make law, it does not become law unless he says yes. So I want us to reflect about that. It is not so everywhere. That is a fact. If you deny me, check it. Yesterday, I say we must be on top of things, and we must move. We must keep abreast with what's happening in our country. There is a growing movement in this country, and it's a very serious one. People who are committed to what they are doing. They came to me some time ago, and they expressed their interest in what they are doing. It has to do with what he has just talked about, adult literacy. But adult literacy in a different way this time. There is a Guinean, or there was a Guinean, Ismaila Kante, who invented an alphabet, which is not a Roman alphabet you and I learned in school. And they call the alphabet Nko, because Ismaila is Mandinka. And that alphabet is what many people in Mali, in Guinea, and here are using. There is an adult literacy class going on in Dipakunda. They are using that alphabet. And there are a group of people who are promoting it. In fact, they send students to University of Kofi Annan University in Conakry to learn about this. They have already they came with somebody who is graduated from that university. And I will bring next time books that have been written with this alphabet. The Quran has been transliterated using that alphabet, in Ko alphabet. And when I was in ECOWAS Parliament, the matter was raised there once, we talked about it. So please, let us take interest in Tomo, because these things are happening and they will happen. Adult literacy is a fundamental need and practice. Whether you take interest in it, the people are taking interest in it, because literacy is fundamental to the human person. Literacy is fundamental to our lives and our culture. I know in Serekunda East, the former Serekunda East constituency, there was literacy going on. There was an NGO which was helping the MP to run literacy there. And the same NGO was helping the late Honorable Juf in Serekunda West to run adult literacy there. We take these things are not important, but this is the new wave in the world. It is true that we have acquired these languages, French and English, through colonialism. The objective is not to promote our being. The objective was to suppress our culture and give us a so-called alien culture through that language. At independence, we should have fought against that. I'm not saying that we should not use it, but we should not use them to the detriment of the promotion of our own languages and cultures. Language is rooted in culture. If you speak any language, you are also learning the culture in which it is rooted. That is why when you go to France, Gambians going to France, they are forced to do arts. I went through that war in France because I registered to do philosophy and sociology. I was in my third year. They sent my result to the office in Paris. They sent me a letter. And the letter said, after receiving this letter, if you stay in this country, anything that happens to you is your business. I wrote back, I said, you made a mistake. You should have put my air ticket there. But you cannot sit there and tell me what my country needs. I know that better than you. And then he wrote back, apologizing profusely. Then I asked, linguistics, do you consider to be arts? He said, yes. I clapped. I said, okay. That's what brought me to do linguistics. But of course, I completed my degree in sociology and philosophy, and then after the first degree, I went with linguistics to other levels. So it is important that we give consideration to these matters, because what is happening in our countries, not only here, but Africa generally, is like an insult to ourselves. Just imagine what our Constitution says. We just read things and we don't reflect about them. But if we deeply reflect about it, we see that they are insult. We are insulting ourselves. The law says, the Constitution says, all Gambians are equal before the law. But the same Constitution goes and says, but some are more equal than others. How did it say it? How does it say it? You have a right to vote and to be elected. But you cannot be elected if you are not literate in a foreign alien language. That's English. So that makes you different. And 80% of our people don't speak English. So the law is against the vast majority of the people in this country. They cannot come here by virtue of the fact that they don't speak English. You know what had happened to the history of the English people and the French people, all over the people, all the Europeans, even including Moscow? French was the language of all these courts throughout the world. But you know who brought their languages back? England, for example, the ordinary people. This type of movement I have just talked about. the ordinary people moved against the use of French, and they brought back English. So our people are going to do exactly the same. And we, as their representatives, we cannot sit by and close our eyes to that reality. We must be free. We are not free. We are not free as long as we are expressing ourselves in a foreign tongue. We represent people who don't understand anything of what we are saying here. All that we have been saying here throughout the 2 weeks that we have been here, they understood nothing. And what the radio and television put out, they just put out what they like. They don't put out all that you say. They just pick few things and put there. That is not representation. We are misrepresented. We are misrepresenting our people, and the community, the media is also misrepresenting us. We must do something and change this. This is not independence. This is not independence, this is linguistic slavery. And it is cutting us off from our people. We are not representing them. I'm not proud to talk here like I am there now, but I'm forced by the law to do that. If I want to even quote something in Mandinka, the speaker will say, no, 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 as he has done to people here. But you can always quote. That is a fact. When you are talking, you can quote in another language and translate it. That is a universal standard practice. But here, if you want to quote, even in Mandinka, they say, no, 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 no.
Honorable, you have about 2 more minutes.
I know, because I'm saying what I'm saying.
Whatever you can say, whatever you wish or you like, but you have less than 2 minutes to go.
You know, I'm your friend, you can add 1 more minute. I started one in 1997. And yesterday, that'll be my last thing. A Senegalese professor followed me. I was very surprised. He phoned me. I said I was very far away. He said, just describe where you are. And I described. And I told him somewhere. Then my son went with the vehicle and brought him. Why did he want to see me? He's my colleague. We were together in London. But his interest was, he said he has two students who want to do research on my literacy project in Wuli. He cited you. You are the 3rd person. He has 2 others. So you see, it is not a joke. Students from somewhere
thank you.